Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we talk about propaganda movies and some of the issues we have with them.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez.
And I'm Fox.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling.
That was beautiful. Why are you singing this song?
From glen to glen. This is my my funeral dirge for MoviePass.
Oh, you hit me with the low blow just there.
Yes, I did.
Didn't know you'd be doing that.
I snuck that in on you.
Unfortunately, MoviePass is basically dead at this point.
If you guys don't know what MoviePass is, it's how every time we recorded the Nerdy Gritty, Fox was able to talk about 37 different movies that he had seen recently.
Yeah, MoviePass. Okay, very quickly here. I've had it for about 7 or 8 months now, $9.95 a month. And you got one movie a day. This could be any, for the majority of the time I had it, this could be any first run movie the day it came out. It could be, it really depended on if the theater was participating, but the vast majority of them were. So independent movies, basically anything. One movie a day for $10 a month. Crazy, ridiculous deal. Almost too good to be true.
You would think that wouldn't last very long.
I got a lot of time. What did I tell you?
Last we checked, it was something like 47 movies in 4 months.
It was 45 since I had gotten it. That I remember that now.
And then you got it in April?
More. No, I got it before that. I think I got it in February. But I've seen nearly 50 movies in about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And, oh man, it was so much fun. Because I saw a lot of stupid Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies, which
did you see Jungle Cruise?
No, I haven't seen Jungle Cruise, nor have I seen Skyscraper. Jungle Cruise hasn't even come out.
Jungle Cruise is a movie in production right now, starring Emily Blunt and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Based on the ride at Disneyland,
which has a rich story history.
Hey, Pirates of the Caribbean, great movie. The original? Great movie.
Yeah, the original was a great movie.
Yeah. Excellent movie. So this one won't be as good. But anyway, and so now they've faced problems the last 2 weeks, basically because that's such a good deal. Lots of people have it. Somewhere over 3 million people, I think, got it. And they send you a debit card. You select the movie you want to see. They put enough money on there to pay for it. And then they pay for it. And somehow... that's the question. They were paying for $3 million or 3 million people's worth of movies potentially every single day for only $10 a month. It didn't make any sense, and now it seems like the other shoe is dropped and it's over. At least that good of a deal, because I just got a thing that said in the app it said you now get 3 movies a month for $9.95, and maybe a discount on other movies. So that means I'm deleting it.
Yeah. So to be clear, Fox probably saw 8 movies a month.
Oh, that'd be an off month. Well, okay, I guess if you space it out. Yeah, right. I saw a lot of movies every month.
Right.
There were several times where I saw one a day for 4 or 5 days.
And to cut that down to 3, and then I will say that they give you a $5 discount on... they said that you can watch 3 for free, and then a $5 discount on movies after that, right?
Up to $5 discount on other movies, and they're adding back in... first run, because they had also very recently taken away the ability, especially starting with Mission Impossible Fallout, the ability to see big, huge blockbusters for the first 2 weeks they were out, which also sucked.
Yes.
But anyway, so that's still a good deal. I'll say that. That's still technically a good price.
Right.
And I might actually keep it because I've got it in my budget anyway. I've already essentially spent the money on it, so I might keep it anyway.
Well, here's the reality,
but it's
Fox.
Really sad.
Honestly and truly, if you did not have MoviePass, would you see 1 movie a month?
At least 1 movie a month.
So then it's worth it for you.
It's still worth it.
Financially worth it for you.
I think maybe it just comes from, I want the better one.
I'm entitled to that deal.
Now. Yeah, you owe me for some reason.
How dare you?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you were grandfathered in or something.
Yeah, it would be, but then a lot of people, it wouldn't really make a difference to their bottom
That's
line.
true, right?
Yeah, because a lot of people would be grandfathered in. Even my wife got it, and she sees compared to me, very few movies. So
I would probably see more movies if I had it. But,
sure. But you also have kids, so that...
Yeah, I just don't have that time.
Anyway,
every little once in a while, it looks like there's like a skip in our audio, and that's whenever I nudge the computer. So I'm going to go ahead and just
don't do
tilt
that.
this way and scoot over here. Anyway, so we are not talking about MoviePass today.
No, but there is a movie I want to talk about that I saw.
Ooh, what have you been up to? What'd you see?
I went and saw a movie called Blind Spotting on Saturday.
I don't know if I've heard of that.
It came out 2 weeks ago, I think. It's about Colin...
Farrell.
No, unfortunately. No, I forget what it is. It's a guy named Colin and his friend Miles. Colin got out of jail, and now it's
Colin Farrell and Miles Davis.
about a year later. Yeah, and their wacky adventures in time and space. No, it's like 3 days before his parole is up, and he's just trying to like... It's one of those stories where it's hard to like, this is what it's about, like plot-wise, but what it's about essentially is just black identity. And like in Oakland. And just the idea of like the whole blind spotting, the trailer for title Blind Spotting comes from the idea that it's like that picture where it's either a vase or two faces.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of see one. And even though you know there's two, you still look at it and think there's just one until you tell yourself. And so we have this and it kind of translates into like our preconceived notions about people based on race, based on like hairstyle, based on these things. We just kind of see what we want to see and don't see what we can't don't want to see.
Right.
That's our blind spot. And so, sorry, I'm getting this is the problem with not having to hold the mic. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
It was so like, this is one, recently my wife asked me, if you were to predict now from the movies you've seen, what would be in the Oscar noms? This would be one of them.
Oh,
I could see this being there. It did a really cool thing throughout so in Shakespeare, there's something called, I think, high speak or high, basically where at a certain point, like language would become more flowery and as a literary device. Kind of happened in this too through rap.
Oh, nice.
Because throughout the movie, like these two main characters, they kind of just do this thing where they're talking about something and they're happy about it, they're sad about it, or whatever, and they'll start like rhyming about it. And it didn't feel like exploitative. It just felt like this is how they do it. And it was really cool. But then it comes in at certain points. And it's like, now it's like something to pay attention to.
Almost like a musical in that way.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not technically musical because it's what he's actually saying in the movie. It's not a musical moment. It's just how he's getting across what he feels. And it was really, really cool. I really like it.
I want to see that now.
Yeah. Everybody should go see it. It talks about like white identity as well. And just like having to keep up a front when you live in a certain area and still not getting the same treatment because your skin color is even like, it was really, really good. I highly recommend seeing Blind Spotting.
I have been playing Slay the Spire. No,
That's
I mean,
all
yes,
you've been doing
I have
with
been,
your life.
But no, I actually saw a movie recently as well. One that was not very good. It was called Tale of Tales. And I think it's a Netflix
about
original.
Sonic's best friend Tails.
Yes. Ooh. And it's a story about him. And his name is Miles, by the way.
Miles Tails?
Yeah, Miles Tails. And he is a helicopter pilot.
I wish you had stopped.
And
he is a helicopter.
I mean, he is kind of.
That's the movie.
No, so it's called Tale of Tales. And it's one of those like fairy tale things where there are 3 different stories.
Okay.
And they're all told separately.
So it's a tale about, okay.
But they kind of weave them together at the end, but not really. The way that they weave them together at the end is there's a coronation and everybody's there. That's it. Oh. Other than that, they don't play into each other at all.
The actual plots don't really connect. That's disappointing.
And, but at the same time, they don't do it Sin City style where one story is told, then they move to the next story. There's just sections of each story told throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
Which, if you're going to tie them all together at the end, I like that.
Sure.
Because then you can see as they slowly progress together.
Oh, they're going to come together and you're waiting for this big moment.
Right, and that never happened.
Oh.
But they are all kind of like fantasy tales, but no moral really to any of them. All of them are just weird. Like, really weird.
Interesting.
Like unnecessary nudity.
Well, it's Netflix. They can do whatever they want.
Weird gore. Like,
ooh, I'm interested now.
Weird. And the whole, like, Salma Hayek eats a giant heart, like on a plate, sitting at a table. She's a queen. No knife or fork though, just face deep into a heart.
That just sounds like real life.
And it's weird. Like the whole movie is really, really weird. Like, to the point where at the end, Jackie and I turned it off, and both of us are like, "Huh?" And 24 hours later, we're still like, "Okay, but really though, what?"
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing: in a movie, if you're ever saying "what," you stop and question: are you also laughing because you're confused? And if you are, then that's a good bad movie. If you're just saying "what" and not laughing, then it's a bad movie.
We were saying what and felt uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, and that's not a joke. Like, okay. Oh man, yeah. it was a bad movie. One of the tales I kind of liked. You could kind of say it was a story about how a girl went from like being the giddy teenage girl who just wants a husband to becoming her own woman and being strong.
Okay.
It involved her essentially being kidnapped, raped, and then murdering a man.
Oh. And
then returning home with the man's head covered in blood.
Oh.
It's weird.
Classic tale.
Yeah. The whole thing was weird. But all of that happened.
I think that's what The Taming of the Shrew was
all
about.
of that happened because I'm going to spoil one entire storyline here.
Okay.
All of that happened because the king, one day while the daughter was singing for him, found a flea. And then he started feeding the flea. And then the flea grew to be giant, like baby cow-sized flea.
Okay.
Then the flea died. He had it skinned. And whoever could guess what kind of skin this was would be his daughter's husband. And everybody came through and tried, and nobody get it until like this huge barbarian. They called him an ogre, but he was just like this 9-foot tall caveman guy. Came in, smelled it, and said, "Flee." And so he went with her. And then the big barbarian guy threw her over his shoulder, climbed a mountain to his cave full of bones, and then was there, wed to her.
Sure.
And but then she was saved by a handsome young man and his circus troupe. And then the ogre caught up with them, murdered the handsome young man and the entire circus troupe.
All right.
And then she cut the ogre's throat, cut his head off,
good. Went
back to the father and said, "This is the husband you chose for me." And then she became the queen. The end.
Yeah. No, so the opening sounds like a classic fairy tale, like story with a point kind of thing.
Right.
And then,
Then it just gets weird.
I'm probably not going to watch this.
No. I do not recommend you watch this.
Netflix is weird right now. They are obviously heavily pushing their original content, but their quality goes from like the worst thing you've ever seen to actually some really good stuff.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, and in between. They just kind of they're using the shotgun technique.
Yeah.
Let's just hire everybody to make everything and see if maybe 5% of them are good.
Right.
Because people are just going to watch it anyway. Like, like you watched it, probably
did.
You saw a description and were like, "Oh, okay."
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Jackie chose it. I wasn't even paying attention.
Sure. But it's not like you see previews for this anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that might we should talk about that someday. Just like what Netflix's technique is and like how we watch them without even knowing what things are about.
But you know what I don't see Netflix doing a lot?
What don't you see Netflix doing?
Propaganda films.
There may be one or two in there, but I haven't really taken time. But yes, I have not. A lot of those are not made by Netflix,
right?
But there are a lot of them nowadays.
Transition.
Yeah, today we're talking about what we're calling propaganda movies. Right. We'll explain a little bit about what we mean by propaganda because it has a certain connotation, especially for like wartime, like World War II. That's what I think of with propaganda, like Joseph Goebbels or whatever, however you say his name, and those things like that. But it's actually very similar. We've been having this as a topic, like in a potential topic for a long time. But I definitely this weekend, like, hey, Des, we're watching that. We're talking about this because I watched a movie on Saturday called Christian Mingle.
Right.
This movie came out several years ago.
A movie based on the hit bestseller website that for dating Christian Mingle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. No, hold on. So essentially, this movie came out several years ago, and I saw the trailer. This was when I was in college, or maybe after when I was still living in Joplin. Saw the trailer with a friend, and we were like, that looks really terrible, but it also looks like it kind of makes fun of Christianity a little bit, because basically the plot is single lady wants a husband,
right.
is having trouble finding a husband, so she sees ads for christianmingle.com. Even though she's not a Christian, she's like, oh, find a nice guy on there. Gets on Christian Mingle, starts dating a Christian guy, and there's a few moments of like her, like she's basically trying to keep up the facade that I'm a Christian and blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And the inevitable things happen where it's, you know, you're not a Christian, and then the best parts are these little goofy moments where like she's trying to like do what she thinks a Christian should be doing. So praying before they just get coffee together, and not knowing how to end up, like she forgets to use the word amen, and so everybody's like, wow, this is taking forever, why are you not stopping? Like that kind of there were a few moments like that, but overall it was terrible. Yeah. As you would expect, a terrible movie. And I'd be fine with it just being a bad movie. There's a million rom-coms that are just bad.
Right.
But it had this kind of insidious underbelly to it that I thought just needed kind of addressing. So before we get into that whole thing, have you ever seen any of these kind of movies before?
Yeah.
There are a lot of them nowadays.
Back when I was younger, I saw Extreme Days.
Ooh, I haven't even heard of that.
Which is a Christian movie. So this is like late 90s, mid 90s even when it came out.
Sure.
But it's a Christian movie about a bunch of teenagers who are into extreme sports go on like their senior road trip. Of
course.
But also Jesus.
But also Jesus is there.
Yeah.
Busting some sweet
And he
tricks.
does a sweet manual over an ollie. How do you
a manual over an ollie?
I'm actually teasing, right? Because I can talk skate. I can talk skate stuff.
He does the Christ air.
Yes, but then he just
Christian
stays up there
Hosois.
and ascends into heaven.
Okay, see you later, I guess.
Is he coming down? How do we rate this?
Oh, this is this good? He didn't stick the landing.
Or did he?
Or did he? Yeah. So these movies have been coming out for a while, and we don't want to just harp on Christian propaganda movies,
But we kind of
although
do.
that's a big thing right now, and as both of us being pastors, that gets under our skin.
Yeah, we do want to remind you right now that Fox and I love us some Jesus a lot. We are pastors. We work at a church, and we are both
We are recording
devout
this
Christians.
at that church.
Yeah,
right
we
now.
are recording in a church right now. So know that we're not trying to mock the faith in any way, shape,
No,
or form.
of course not.
But
There's a certain amount where I appreciate these kind of movies, like maybe the intent.
right.
To kind of. That being said, there are also other kinds of propaganda movies like war propaganda movies,
Right.
And not really war. So another one we were talking about that I want to bring up is like the Independence Day sequel, Resurgence, Regurgitation. I
Yeah.
think, yeah. Independence Day Regurgitation had a lot of, aside from just in the movie itself, along with like Battleship and even like the Transformers movies, a lot of like military glorification
Yep.
shots where they can do no wrong and they're here to save the day. That's in a lot of movies. That in itself is pretty common. But Independence Day 2 also had like legitimate marketing strategies and stuff that would direct you toward the army, like the military websites that they recruit from. And so like they used this fictional film to get people to join the military,
Right.
Which is kind of the definition of propaganda.
Right,
It's
absolutely.
essentially lying to you about what they're asking of you.
Well, and then there was America's Army, which was a video game,
right.
for like the Xbox and PlayStation 2, I believe, is when that came out.
PC mostly.
And PC.
I think it was mainly PC. I don't
Yeah.
even know if it had a console release, but it was free. This was more than a decade ago, at least probably 15 years
You
ago.
might be talking about different things.
No, there was America's Army. I remember I played it a little bit actually.
But I don't remember it being free, and I definitely
no?
remember it being on the Xbox.
Okay. Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I played it at a PC gaming like store place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I played it on there, just kind of curious.
Anyway, there's a lot of media out there that is made for propaganda, and there are some that is made to honor things, like, there's music out there made to honor the country and whatnot. It's not trying to trick you into doing anything, but then there are others that definitely have a more subtle, not subtle message to them, trying to convince you of something.
Right. There's a lot of it's really in the application of these concepts that are being like. There's a lot of country music that's patriotic in theme, and that's fine. But then there are times when it's used as a, like, if you don't, you're not patriotic if you don't do this.
I remember a boy band that was in the 90s. They sang a song called Yvonne et Niage. And
I love those guys.
Yeah, and it came out later, shockingly, that Yvonne et Niage was joined the Navy backwards.
That's why I joined the Navy. Dang, that makes so much sense. This is a reference to a
Simpsons
episode of The Simpsons,
right?
Where Bart and 4 friends are given the opportunity to join a boy band.
It's Bart, Milhouse Nelson, and
who's the other one?
Smart kid. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Ralph?
No,
it wasn't
Ralph is stupid kid.
Who's smart? Oh, yeah, Martin. Isn't his name Martin?
No, Martin's with the glasses.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
No, there's the other one that wears a white shirt. And he's
with the red shorts.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember his name.
Anyway,
that makes fun of the whole musical thing. But anyway, so let's get into why we're calling these propaganda movies. If we're not saying that they're like, is there a difference between actual propaganda films from World War II, where it's like, look at what the boys are doing now, like join the military, fight those nasty krauts, that kind of thing. Between this. We still call them propaganda, though. So what would you say is the difference between them?
So to me, a propaganda film is, or whatever sort of media, is something that's not created for the artistic merit of it.
Okay.
It's something that's created, and art obviously is a part of it.
Inevitably.
Inevitably. But it's specifically created to convince the audience of some sort of action afterward.
Okay.
So its specific goal is to cause the audience to do something afterward, and art is secondary to it.
Yeah. Now a lot of art, most art, all art, hopefully, has a goal of having a message to it,
right?
Or some kind of thought process that it wants to get across. So is it just? Now you have to go do something, or what is the difference there? Because lots of movies have a message to them.
There's a difference between message and a call to action, though.
Okay.
I would say propaganda has a very specific call to action.
Sure.
So, where there's maybe Happy Feet. Happy Feet had a message to it.
That's your example?
You ever see Happy Feet?
No, I have not.
The whole thing comes, like, they're all dancing penguins, everything's
sure,
great.
Yeah, and they're happy
by
feet.
the way, global warming. Like
Al Gore just walks on screen. It's like,
but really, like,
shoots a penguin and says, "That's what you're doing.
That's your fault.
That is your fault.
How you liking that plastic straw you're drinking out of right now?" He just punts a baby penguin. I don't like doing that, but you're making me.
This is you.
This is what you have done.
Anyway,
so
yeah,
Happy Feet had a pretty blatant message to it.
Sure,
but at no point did anybody essentially look at the camera and say, so you should do this. Okay. Whereas March of the Penguins, on the other hand, is a propaganda film. It's educational. March of the Penguins is about penguins, and it's Al Gore. And
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's about, like, here's what global warming is actually doing.
Isn't it a documentary? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But the message is, like, we need to take care of our environment.
Sure.
And there is a call to action in it. So same thing with, like, America's Army, the video game. It's not just the message of the army is important. There is a call to join the army within this game.
Here,
and
learn tactics, and this is how it would,
especially with Christian movies, so many of them have this call to action where somebody inevitably in the movie will have a conversion moment.
Come to Jesus moment.
Literal come to Jesus moment. And at that point, it's not directly, but it's almost directly somebody looks into the camera and says, pray this prayer with me. Do you feel like you need Jesus? Do this with me. And it's meant to be at a character in the movie, but it's not. It's meant to be to the audience.
Yeah.
And there was a call to action saying, accept Jesus with me right now in the movie.
There is, of course, an element here of interpretation.
Right, of course.
Not like... So let's go with Christian Mingle. It definitely had those moments where it was just like, oh, I need to rethink what I'm doing, and I'm really just being a fake Christian, and oh, maybe I'm a fake, oh, like, and it's just like super obvious bad dialogue, all that, but it's not technically telling you. It's just it heavily implying,
right,
this is what you do, and this is how you need to change, and Jesus is the only way for you,
right,
kind of thing. So yeah, there is an element of interpretation. Some of these movies are better at it than others. I mean, in a more subtle way than others, but this is something we need to talk about because they are pervasive now, especially the Christian propaganda.
right.
There is God's Not Dead. That movie that's half Newsboys ad because it's about a song from the band the Newsboys called God's Not Dead. They have a concert. They show the characters going to their concert in the movie, which is hilarious. That's a trilogy now.
Yeah.
There are 3 of them.
Shocking.
There are lots of movies. Like there's Fireproof. There's Facing the Giants. Courageous.
War Room.
Yeah, a lot of these come from a development studio called Pure Flix.
Right.
Whose purpose is to create movies with a message, where they themselves, the 2 guys, I forget their names behind it. I looked at a little bit about this. They don't consider themselves filmmakers.
George and Fred Weasley.
Yes, you're right. Fred came back from the dead. And this is what he had. His message from God was, you need to do this now. No, they from what I could see, they don't really consider themselves filmmakers. They consider themselves like preachers, essentially using film.
And this is not what we have said. They have said this.
I might be paraphrasing, but this is essentially what has been said by them, by people in the industry.
We're not filmmakers. We are preachers using film.
Right. Which I'm fine with.
Right.
Like, that's perfectly okay. My biggest problem with these movies is what you said before, is that they are message first, art later.
Right.
Like, okay, here's what we want to say. Now let's write some characters saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get them in a scene that we can make them say this. When in the result, sure, you got that message across. I clearly understand Christian Mingle director. Actually, you want to know who the director of Christian Mingle is? You're going to be sad.
Michael Bay.
Corbin Burnson. Father of Sean Spencer.
No.
He is the writer and director and has a very small role in it.
Corbin Burnson.
Yeah, I was very shocked. He's the guy. He was also in
he's been in a lot of different things.
He's a pretty famous actor.
Yeah.
But we mainly know him as whatever his name is.
As Father Spencer.
Sean's dad
Spencer
from
in Psych.
Yes. Anyway.
He's a Christian, though. That's cool.
No, it's great. Look, yeah, that's the hard part here is I take offense more on a film critic level,
right,
than I do on a Christian level. Like, you're getting across a good message that I want people to hear, but you're just doing it in a way. It's the Hank Hill quote from King of the Hill. He's talking to like a Christian rock band, and he's saying, "Can't you see you're not making music better? You're not making Christianity better. You're making music worse." And that it's like a joke line in there, but it just has so much truth to it. Like, you're doing this in a dishonest way, and you're not helping your message. You're making the art form you're using cheaper.
Which, to be clear, there are a lot of fantastic Christian bands out there.
Oh, sure.
But
I'm
just want to make sure that we're clear on all these things.
There are plenty of bands.
Don't at me, okay? Don't at me.
Don't at me. There are plenty of bands. Sure, whatever. I'm just saying that when you come at it from a dishonest, that's how I'm categorizing it.
Yeah.
They're honestly trying to say something. It seems as though they're trying to sneak it in with this crappy movie. Like, funny thing about Christian Mingle. Oh, let's watch it. Oh, that was bad.
But I think you can still make good propaganda movies. I think it's possible. I can't think of an example right now, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. To me, though, when it becomes good, it's not a propaganda movie anymore. To me, propaganda kind of is synonymous with bad.
And I think that's just where your and I's definition of it separate.
That might be definitely true. Because there are movies that are either overtly or covertly Christian themed in nature that are also very good. Overtly, Passion of the Christ is an excellent movie.
Yes, it is.
I don't care if you are a Christian and agree you think it's all a fairy tale that was made up. That's fine. that doesn't stop it from being a very well-made movie.
Yeah.
Like the cinematography, the acting, like the authenticity of like the set design and the like slavish nature to like
Except for one
what's
really dumb
depicted
thing
in the Bible.
from a guy who's an actual like theological historian.
Sure.
They spoke Latin, not Greek.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
weird.
a really dumb choice, but
Still, they didn't speak any Latin or Greek in Christian Mingle. They spoke in 5-word sentences that anybody could understand. Anyway,
from the cue cards.
yes, it was like an SNL sketch.
But okay, so you talk about this and like a movie, it's not even meant to be a Christian movie. It's not from a Christian director, but what I consider my favorite movie with a Christian message is Book of Eli.
100%. I was actually going to bring that up.
Yeah, Book of Eli is a fantastic movie.
Spoilers here.
Yeah, spoilers. I don't know if I want to spoil
long
it.
time.
Here's what I'll say. No big spoilers.
Oh, okay.
But the central message of Book of Eli is the power of Scripture and just how powerful the Bible is. That it brings so much hope that somebody can even take this Bible, take this word, and read the hope that it gives, but twist it so he's using it as like he is the only one who can provide these things. Like and he was an evil man to do that, and that was once
Carnegie.
again Gary Oldman.
Yeah, his name is Carnegie.
And but on the other side is here's Eli, and he just wants to get this word out to the world.
Right.
His job is to go and preach the gospel to everybody, I guess.
Yeah, it has these heavy themes of faith and glistening to the call in your life.
Glistening to the call in your life.
Glistening
You're
to it.
shining in this call.
No, and like scriptural purity and just, but at the same time, he straight up decapitates fools.
He just violent.
Yeah, there's rape that he says, it's not my fight, and he walks away. Like, there are these things that are like, wow, you would not see that in a movie from Pure Flix.
Right.
Because what they're trying to get to is Christian themes and not a piece of art that is also Christian in nature or in themes.
So here's my question to you then, because I have a rebuttal. I've talked this before to people who enjoy these movies, the Pure Flix movies.
Sure.
And so I have a rebuttal for you.
Ooh.
What if these movies aren't made for you? What if the purpose of these, you said they make money, they make a ton of money.
They do.
The purpose of these movies, like any movie, is to be made for the people who want to see them.
Okay.
We make these things to be seen and to communicate a message, whether it's a propaganda message or just a piece of art message, to communicate a message. And there are people out there that genuinely want to hear this message. People want to see Christian Mingle, want to watch it, to laugh, and be able to watch it knowing that there's going to be no nudity, cursing, nothing that's going to offend their senses.
Sure.
But also they get like a positive message out of this. They want this. There are people out there that want this.
Okay.
Is it still bad then?
Artistically, yes. The
Yes,
language
of
of
course.
cinema is a thing. Like, editing is a thing. Like, these things come like are. You just bumped my broken toe.
Sorry.
All
Oh
right,
my
this
gosh.
is happening. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It hurts, but it's fine, and I'm gonna sue you. No, but it's the language of cinema and just the artistic nature of filmmaking is still not being addressed. It's just literally like, let's try to get these shots so we can make this story. So from an artistic standpoint, yeah, it's still bad. But I completely understand, okay, we have a certain audience we're going for. Now, my response to that is if your Christian message movie of be a Christian, if your audience, who I'm assuming that you're meaning here, are the Christians,
Right.
why are you making this movie?
And that's my issue with it. So there are different aspects to it. So like aspect number one is there are things like
Well, I just have a quick question for your podcast.
oh, my wife has a question for our podcast here. She wants to come in. Hang on.
Okay, so
Hold on, I'm going to interrupt you. So my wife's office is directly next to ours, and she has been, whether we like it or not, listening to us this whole time, I'm guessing. And I guess she's come to a point where she's just like, I can't take this anymore. And she is now,
I respect it.
she has now interrupted our podcast. Go ahead.
so I know the answer for you, Steve, on the Christian movies, and regardless of what your opinions are,
Des.
sorry, I'm curious, Fox, because
Yes. I'm nervous.
I just know how you are viewing the Christian movies, and I'm not going to say what my opinion is. Have you actually watched any of these movies?
Yeah, I've watched a couple. I've watched.
We're talking about this because he just watched Christian.
I just
Mingle.
watched Christian Mingle, which is one of the most recent one, but I've watched several others. I watched
God's Not Dead.
Yeah, I've watched God's Not Dead, and I watched both of the Left Behind movies, which I don't know if you can really count those. They're based on
Left Behind Kirk Cameron and Left
No.
Behind Nicolas
Okay.
Cage.
Well, I've watched those.
I think Left Behind Kirk Cameron you could count in those.
Maybe.
Probably not Left Behind
No.
Nicolas Cage.
I haven't watched a whole lot. I'm saying that, but I have watched a couple.
Just because you have to be careful to say that they are all artistically bad
Right.
if you have not seen them to judge that.
That's absolutely true. I agree.
Just making the point because Des has not watched any of them.
I've seen 2.
He has not.
I have seen 2. Yes. Don't you?
Oh no.
Just making the
Oh, no.
point that if you have not seen them, you can't judge their artistic value.
That's fair.
The good news is that I edit this podcast, and
you monster.
now none of that happened. So
Nope, it did.
Just making a point.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
no, she makes a very fair point here.
Yeah.
But so we will say that's actually a very good point. We will say now that we are making general assumptions on the quality of films based on the organization PureFlix.
Yeah.
And what we have seen of their films.
Right.
But so what I was going to say before is there are movies like War Room, which is about prayer,
Sure.
and Courageous, which is about marriage. No,
Fireproof is
Fireproof is about marriage. Courageous is about manhood. Manhood and faith.
Right.
They are not come to Jesus movies.
Okay.
The purpose of these movies is not to convert people. I am okay with that. I don't want to see those movies. They don't look quality to me. The previews look cheesy and forced. But you know what? I bet you there are people out there that really, really want to see those movies. People who, when they watch those movies, it hit them really well. And they needed to see these things about marriage and prayer and about manhood, and that was so important to them, and that's awesome. That's great. Now there are other movies in which that's not. God's Not Dead. God's Not Dead. The purpose of this movie was to talk about converting atheists, but they paint atheists as douchebags,
Villains.
Yeah,
Literal villains. Like, I hate you and I hate God and you're all terrible. Like,
yes,
like that might be actual dialogue.
exactly, and. That's not an exaggeration at all. Like, I hate everything and the whole world should burn. I can just imagine Kevin Sorbo and I can't remember the other actor, but there's another atheist in it, like standing in a corner going, and they paint the atheists in this way, and it's poorly done in that way. If your message is to try to convert people, that's the wrong way to do it. Even if your message is, here's how Christians should deal with atheists, that's the wrong way to do it. Because now Christians turn to atheists and think things like, you're a villain and I'm the hero in this. Instead of saying, hey, we're a couple of people with differing opinions, but I'd like to educate you on the truth of the gospel.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and it's a very fair point. I have not seen all of these movies largely because they don't look good.
Right.
But let's specifically talk about Christian Mingle right now.
Okay.
It's the one I've seen.
So go ahead.
recently.
So we're going to talk about Christian Mingle, and we're going to talk about its quality in art, its success in propaganda, and how that all kind of meshed together in Fox's opinion. So go ahead.
So if my interpretation of its message is that it's not simply a come to Jesus movie. It partially is that.
Right.
Because this lady, this girl,
She's
who's
not
actually
Christian.
Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls is the main
Oh.
character. She is not a Christian, but becomes a Christian throughout the movie.
Right.
And part of it is to show you, like, here's what the truth is. Her life becomes better. All these things. You know?
Right.
But at the same time, it's the dialogue is poor. Like, it doesn't feel like real people talking. There are parts during the movie, if you were to close your eyes, I remarked on this to, I was watching it with my wife and her friend. And I remarked on this to her friend during it. Like, if you were to close your eyes and just listen to this, you would just think you're in a church hearing a sermon.
Right.
But in the movie, it's two people that are like walking home from a date they went on, just talking about stuff. And look, I'm not saying those conversations can't happen, but it just felt like a sermon inserted into a script.
Yep.
And it felt dishonest and it felt unrealistic as to how people actually talk, especially about topics like that. If you consider each other, if at this point the woman is pretending to be a Christian, the man believes she is a Christian and has been for a while, this is not how people would talk to each other at this point.
Right. Absolutely.
It felt very unnatural. At the same time, there is like this whole subplot or plot where they go down to Mexico for a mission trip, and it's very clearly like it looks like from Arrested Development. Like the scenes where they go to Mexico at certain points, it might be the same exact set because it looks so terrible. But cinematographically, you get there, it's really boring. It's super flat. It's clearly a set. It was borderline racist. I'm going to be honest. Because when you get there, you have all these fun, happy, cheery church people that are going to rebuild this church. And then all the Mexicans that are there are literally just standing around. And there's a boy with a donkey walking around. That's literally a thing. Oh. And there's like mariachi music and they're all wearing serapes. And
are they seriously?
Yes, 100%. It is borderline racist.
There's a level of ignorance there. Come on,
yes, that's exactly
man.
what it was.
Have you ever actually been on a Mexico mission trip?
It felt like ignorance. It didn't feel like, oh, look at how lazy Mexicans are. It just felt like, that's what Mexicans do, right? Whatever. Let's put it in there and then get these other white people to say...
There are serapes and donkeys, right? It's 1911, right?
Let's get these Christians to say Christian things and move through the plot. None of it ever felt real. Whereas a movie like Book of Eli, that's going to be I completely understand the whole like content thing. If you want to have a movie that's about this message but not see a guy just murdering people outright or ignoring a woman being raped,
or seeing Dumbledore be a cannibal.
Wait, a Dumbledore being a cannibal? Do you mean Sirius?
No.
Is Dumbledore in that movie?
Yeah, briefly, yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
So, you remember when Eli and the girl go to the house and there's the two old people there, and they found out that they're cannibals?
I forgot. I didn't know
Dumbledore.
That was... Anyway, yeah. So I understand the whole content thing. That's fair to me. It's fine. Whatever. You don't want to watch decapitations. I get that. But there's a level of, first of all, cinematography that's just... It has such a good atmosphere. It has like this weight to it, just like through the language of filmmaking, but also like you believe in like Eli is just like a real person. He clearly is struggling with things. He clearly like questions his like motivations sometimes. He at certain points like refuses like a girl is sent to his room as like payment or whatever,
right? And
he's just like, no, just sit there, you can eat with me.
Yeah.
And like through his actions you kind of understand who he is a little bit more. And this is before you even know that it's the Bible that he has,
right? Like
you just get to know him before you even know that there's a Christian message to this movie. And so it's shown to you through the power of writing, like script writing, that it's always better to show instead of tell.
Yes.
And Christian propaganda movies 99.5% of the times, the ones I've seen, don't show.
They tell. They blatantly tell.
Here is a sermon. This is what you should believe, audience member. Movie over.
Well, and then there's so much weight in Book of Eli to one line at the end. He says, I've been protecting this book so long, I forgot to do what it says.
Yeah.
And that's the message. That's the message.
There's the message.
Right there.
That's all. And it took a line, and you're like, yeah. Because you've seen that throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, it was such a beautiful moment. I cried. Like I straight up
it was an excellent moment.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, there's like Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas, in which he ticks down the 10 Commandments with a dude, and then at the end it ends up saying, see, you're a lying, adulterous, and straight up calls the dude like a lot of harsh things and says, so you need Jesus, which is not wrong.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, that's so blatant. It's so ham-handed. Like, there's so many better ways to go about something like this. But now there are this message, like, again, like you said, the message is more important than the art. And so they stuff it in there.
Yes.
So ham-handedly.
It's very clear what their motivations are. And since it's so clear, it doesn't feel like they're trying to tell you a story. It feels like they're trying to convince you of an idea.
Right.
And that while most movies have an idea that they want you to understand, it's very poorly done, where it just feels like they don't care about what they're doing, they care about what they're saying.
So let me ask you this. What would make a good propaganda film?
We talked about this a little bit with video games. Yeah, sorry, I keep bringing the microphone. We're holding our mics, and it's weird. We talked about this a little bit, like religion in video games, where ambiguity.
Okay.
Every character needs to have some kind of like question or just ambiguity in the sense that there's not one clear idea that's right. Because even though people believe things wholeheartedly sometimes, and there might be a character that you have like, hey, here's what I believe. Like, you need real people. Every single piece of art needs real people to latch onto. No matter what your plot is, if you don't have a character that you understand their motivations or understand what they're trying to do, why they're there, who they are, then you're not going to care about that movie.
Right.
And so, first of all, you need an honest script that has characters that you care about. That's first and foremost. And second, you need to, I don't know if it's put the artistic side of it first before your message, but if you want to actually like get an audience that might need to actually hear this, like if it's a come to Jesus movie, you need to make it a good movie so that people who don't know Jesus would still be interested in seeing it.
Right.
Because if it's just a movie about, like, if it's God's not dead and you're painting your characters that don't know Jesus as villains because you just care about like that Christian audience, then why are you trying to do this? They already know Jesus. What's the point? Like, you need honesty in your writing, and your message needs to be important but not overwhelming to the point of you disregard the artistic side of it.
Yeah, and to me, that's a big part of it is the audience. Know your audience. So like I said before, if you got movies like Fireproof or Courageous, and the purpose of these movies is to explain marriage or manhood in a Christian way to Christians, high five. You guys did a great job.
Sure.
And there are people, there are Christians who want to see those movies, and they do, and they love it, and you have succeeded in your goal. I don't want to see them.
Right.
That's fine. But I would have once upon a time said they're still dumb, but in a lot of talking, particularly my wife who came in here, Jackie, definitely convinced me, like, look, it's not for you. But there are people out there who it is for, and they really want this. So why don't get mad at it, yo?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So yeah, and so I am all for that, and I think that's great. But on the flip side, know your audience. So if you make God's Not Dead or Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas or whatever else, like, your audience at that point is you're trying to convert people. Or if you make America's Army and it's a bad game, like, sure, whatever, you're trying to make a game that is encouraging people to join the army, but your game is bad. And so now people associate badness with the army. Right. Failure. Your movie is stupid. Now people associate Christianity with stupidity. Failure. Like, or your movie paints non-Christians as villainous. Now non-Christians going to see this think that you think they're a villain. Yeah. Failure. Right. And there are a lot of different ways in which you need to know your audience. So if you want to make a come to Jesus movie, like you said, make it a good movie. Yeah. Make it exciting, make it, entertaining, and have come to Jesus moments in it. And success at that point. Right. And so I'm going to know the audience. Yeah, I understand that every movie has probably a specific audience it's going for. Right. But also every movie should be appealing to everybody at a certain point, I think. Like, let's take, for example, Blind Spotting that I saw this week. That movie is about a black man who just got out of jail and is trying to, stay clean on parole in the heart of Oakland and dealing with like his job, but also his ex-girlfriend and race implications, and he witnesses a cop shoot an unarmed black man. I have not dealt with any of that stuff. Right. That is not me. So if we're just going by know your audience, that movie wasn't for me. But something that, like, even though I've even like know about this idea of like implicit bias, where I don't know I'm biased against something, but inherently I have some sort of bias based on how I was raised and all that. This movie
was speaking to me through about that idea.
Okay.
It was speaking to me about blind spotting, the idea that I'm going to see in somebody what I want to see first, and I still have a blind spot about them. And so there's this idea that, sure, I'm not explicitly the audience for that movie, but it still had this message for me, and I really heard it because mostly because it was a really good movie, and the message was not. It wasn't trying to convince me of the message. It was telling me a good story that had a message behind it.
Right.
That was the key. Like, it needed to be good. If it's a bad movie, then I don't care. I'm not paying attention to the movie, or it's not going to come across as honest.
Yeah,
that's what fair. I need to see in the filmmaking. So, courageous or manhood and faith, like that idea, not really one for me either. But I would be more interested in seeing it if I had seen reviews or whatever that said, wow, that was a great movie. Also, the message was pretty interesting. But what I've seen is, it's a Christian movie about whatever. Like, it's essentially a propaganda movie about manhood and faith. Like, I'm not the audience. I don't have to be the specific audience for me to want to see a movie. I just need it to be a good movie.
Yeah, that's fair. The tough part there is there's an amount, and actually, see, I'm saying this, I don't even know I agree with it, because there are a lot of great low-budget movies out there.
Oh, sure.
But I was going to say, like, with the amount of budget that some, like, Pure Flicks can put forward.
Budget is not the issue.
No?
There was a movie that came out last year called Tangerine that was made entirely on an iPhone, and it's incredible.
All right. Okay.
Pure Flicks movies make hundreds of millions of dollars, literally. Yeah. Like, they have the money. That's not an issue. I want to get that out there. It's not an issue. It's about honesty and like creativity before it is
the
about
creativity. And here's
budget.
something that I was watching a video, something that just frustrates me is if your purpose is to represent the creator of the universe, the being that literally created art, the being that literally created the desire you have to see art,
right?
And you're representing him with low art,
a garbage movie.
just poor art. Like to me, that's what the struggle there,
right? Like,
and so. That's part of my annoyance and frustration with a lot of Christian propaganda movies, and or if we go to the army one, or army movies, if your goal is to tell people that your organization is a very strong, competent, incredible organization, and therefore you put out a bad game, it's not going to work that way.
Yeah,
so. Yeah, all right. Man, it's tough because I want to defend them. I really do.
Oh, me too. I that's the hard part for me also is I get it. Like I feel like there is a need for that message, especially in like the Hollywood landscape.
Right.
I feel like the idea is there sometimes, but just these movies don't seem like they're concerned with being honest. To me, that's a big part of it is this is we're not trying to show you a good story. We're trying to convince you of something.
Yeah.
And I hate that. Let me come to that conclusion naturally.
Well, I truthfully am still split on the idea of the propaganda movies. Right. I see their purpose, and I'm glad some of them are out there for the
I'd love to see a good one. Like,
yeah, I really want to see a good one.
Yeah, I love this message, like this idea. There just needs to be less or more ambiguity, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already talked about that. I'm just repeating myself. That's my fault.
Well, guys, thank you very much for listening. Let us know what you think about propaganda in media. Let us know if you have anything that you feel like it's done very successfully. Let us know, and we want to see that. And I'll tell you this much: if you comment below or at dezandfoxplay with a piece of media that is propaganda that you think is very good, I will make Fox watch it while I go while I play Slay the Spire. And
thanks.
But we want to see that, or let us know what you think about propaganda media in general. Thank you guys for listening. You're always really cool. Save games, save lives.
Bye, guys.